Hey guys, Alicia from Morning or Hawk Creations. Today we're going to go over a few tips that I would advise you take with you on your next trip out in the wild doing photography. So my first piece of advice is to keep your cell phone on you. When you leave the house, make sure you've got 100% charge. And if you don't have it, most smartphones have it, but make sure you got an app for maps. It might not always be responsive, but having a digital map on you is always a good thing to have, even if you don't use it. The other thing, in addition to your cell phone, I would say, have a backup power system. When you get out in real remote regions, the towers that your cell phone uses to get signal out of are farther and farther away. So the farther your phone has to struggle to get a hold of a tower to get a signal, the more battery usage it's going to use. So while you may not be using your phone trying to connect to a tower and therefore a satellite, maybe just severely, desperately trying to get a hold of it and using a lot of your battery power. So if you go out with your cell phone, bring a spare battery charger just in case you need to call for help. Another great thing that I would say is if you're going out to a park system, or even if you're going out to a remote area, get a paper map, okay? Just in case you lose your GPS signal and you don't have access where your phone dies, keep a paper map and perhaps like a compass on you so that you have some kind of bearing on where you are and the trails that may take you back to where you need. Okay? Now, another thing I would say is to always take a look at the weather before you leave the house. Take a look at what the forecast is going to be like. Is it supposed to stay warm? And really thoroughly investigate not only where you live, like with me, sometimes I travel 3, 4, 5 hours out to go to a site to shoot. The weather here by the lake is not necessarily the weather that's going to be across the state. So I'm not looking for the weather forecast for where I'm in Sheboygan. I'm looking for the forecast for where I'm at. If I'm in Devil's Lake, I'm in Devil's Lake. If it's Door County, Chicago, wherever. Make sure you're looking at the forecast where you're going. And not only that, pull up the radar and see the extended weather conditions in other states. Something may come in faster than weathermen are predicting, and you may get a sudden updraft of storms and may again be stranded miles from your vehicle without any shelter. Another thing I would advise, in addition to going out with the weather, is there is a pocket guide to weather forecasting. Okay, I picked this up at Cabela's, and it gives you all kinds of sort of tips on reading nature signals, reading fronts, clouds, temperature, wind, what happens when a front comes in, how it's going to affect you. This is a really, really handy tool, okay, and it's by Ron Cords. This is really great because, like, simple things like if a front comes in, how's it going to affect the weather? How's it going to affect the clouds? Which affects your lighting? How's it going to affect the animals that are in the area that you're photographing? So knowing what's going to happen with the weather before you leave the house is a huge advantage when you're talking about going out in the wild and shooting wild animals. What's in the bag? What's in the bag? This isn't quite 7, but everybody always asks me when I'm out and doing photography, what's in the bag? Okay, so along with taking my tripod all the time, and now I take my video camera with me, I would highly advise that if you're going to go out with your camera, get a camera bag. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go to Best Buy and spend $199 on the latest and greatest. The bag that I use, ching, is literally a diaper bag. I don't know who issued a black diaper bag, but to that person, thank you, because I bought this at Goodwill for $3. Okay, what's in the bag? In the bag are little things that I pick up. Like, this is a card that I picked up at a state park on whooping cranes, and it gives you how to ID them, where their habitats are, what's going on with their restoration, and it's basically like a nice ID card that if you're seeing them out in the wild, it's like, oh, what kind of crane is it? That's a whooping crane. So I have an abundance of those. And the flap, because I have people that when I'm out in the wild will ask me if I have any business cards. I always keep business cards on me. Always keep business cards on you. Okay? Another thing I always have is I always have an abundance of writing materials, pens, little pads of paper. This nice little flap that's right in the front here is really good for if I happen to go somewhere, like yesterday I was just at Shalom. It's a nice place to put the maps that they give you. So most of the state parks, when you go into state parks, the park guide will issue a map if you want it. Take the maps. You might not use them, but if you get into trouble, they're a good thing to have. What else is in the bag? What's in the bag? Receipts. I keep those too. Now on this in particular diaper bag, there is a hole right here for a card, and I'm sure this is like in case you lose your bag. All I did was stick my business card in there. It perfectly fits my business card, and it does the same function that it would normally do in the event that you lost it. It's got my ID, it's got my phone number and a picture of me and some contact information. Diaper bags are great. Diaper bags are great because they're waterproof. I'm sure they're probably smell-proof too, just in case you have to put a load in there. But primarily, I love this bag because it's durable, it's waterproof. So if I am out in the rain, say I'm 4 miles from home, or 4 miles from my car, 4 miles from my car, and a front comes through, and what I didn't see coming was that it was going to hold some rain. I can take shelter, or wherever I'm going to take shelter in this hypothetical situation. But in the meantime, I got to get from point A to point B. And I do not want my gear getting wet. This bag is great because it's waterproof. So all I have to do is zip it up, throw the flap over it, and my gear is dry. So get a waterproof bag. Love this diaper bag. So this little diaper bag also has cute little pockets on the inside where I always have little hand warmers and toe warmers. What really sucks is when you're going out in the cold weather, whether it's fall or winter, and you get out there, you spend all that time hiking out there, and then 30 minutes later, you want to go home because your feet are freezing or your hands are like completely numb. Bring some hand warmers. Shove them in your bag. They're good year-round. You'll always have them just in case you need them. The other thing I always have in here is like a little bit of medicine just in case I need it. A couple of things of Tylenol. A couple of Band-Aids because you never know if you're going to nick yourself somewhere. And tissues. Because when you leave the house, it might be 50 degrees, but if it gets cold and a front comes through, your nose is going to start running, and nobody wants to use their sleeve. Alright, the other thing I like about this diaper bag is the fact that there's side pockets. This is like the greatest invention on earth for photography, and it's not even for photography. Okay, so in my side pockets, as dumb as it is, there is a squeaker mouse. The reason for the squeaker mouse is if I am taking a picture in like a sanctuary or something of an animal that may or may not be a predator, and actually just this noise is enough to get an animal to look at you, which might be all you need to get the shot. Also on either side of, that's not really a good shot, on either side of my bag I have 2 pouches. They're like little coin pouches. This one's from when I went to the Columbus Zoo, and this one, again, love Goodwill. Picked it up at Goodwill. It's for the San Diego Zoo. Okay, one is for extra memory cards. Now, any photographer who's worth his salt has already told you 2 things. Take extra batteries and extra cards. I thought the woman at Shalom was going to fall over when she asked me if I had pictures of the deer that had been hurt in the rut, and I said, yeah, but I don't know what memory card it's on, so give me a couple minutes. And I whipped out 5 memory cards. Now, I generally clear my memory cards when I'm done with a trip so that I always have fresh ones. But yes, on average, I have 2 16 gigs and 3 8 gig cards that are on my person at all times when I'm shooting out at a site. There's nothing worse than getting out to a site, being all excited, and then finding out you have no memory. So this little bad boy sits right in the side pocket, easy to get to. The other one, I chose this one not just because it had the San Diego Zoo on it, but because, wait for it, it's waterproof. This one has spare batteries in it. So on average, each one of my batteries lasts me 4 to 6 hours depending on how much I'm using my LED screen. If I don't use my LED screen, it can last me 8 to 12 hours, but I have glasses so I can't really use the eyepiece, which is what most photographers recommend you use. So I have to have extra batteries on me at all times. Always charge your batteries before you leave the house. Here's another tip. Your little batteries in cold weather are going to drain like Mother Teresa out of a whorehouse. Take your hot pads, your little hot warmer guys, when you're shooting in winter, and stick one of them in your battery case. It'll keep your batteries lasting longer. And when you're not using your camera, tuck it in your jacket. Your body heat will keep the electronics warm and keep the battery warm, which is going to prolong your battery life. Okay. Now in the bottom of this, I found this handy dandy little extra padded thing. I'm pretty sure this thing is actually supposed to go on the back of a seat for a bike, because there's a lot of padding in this. I really like this because my camera body actually sits down in here, and then this sits inside the actual diaper bag so that there's not too much room for my Canon to move around. So this diaper bag, which is probably 12 to 18 inches tall, has plenty of room for an actual DSLR camera, plus probably 1 or 2 lenses, not including probably a 50 to 250 millimeter lens that's attached to the camera. Now, so that's the good thing. What else is in the bag? Sorry, it's allergy medication. I have allergies. There is this handy dandy filter lens container that I ordered from Canon, which happily holds all the extra. It's like a UV filter, and then there is a composite filter, and then a fluorescent filter. Okay, so these are here so that if I'm shooting in different environments, I have my filters right there. But this is also a place for a little bit of extra cash. Always keep about $15 to $20 on you just in case of emergencies. Believe me, that $15 or $20 in an emergency will be well worth it. Alright, what else do I have in here? Brush for cleaning your lens. The reason that the Devil's Lake footage never got cleaned up was because I didn't realize that there was dirt on the lens until after I looked at the footage when I got home. Needless to say, this was the first bad boy that I pulled out of my bag. Like having it on you, just in case like you're shooting a horse show or any place that's real dry and dusty, maybe a wind kicked up and it kicked a lot of dirt into your lens, really good thing to have. As well as lens cleaner and a lens cleaner cloth. So, again, this is one of those almost gotta have it kind of things. And the sad part is that apparently this gotta have it thing had the lens not, the cap was not put on it correctly, so it leaked. Okay, keep the cap on it, and then keep a lens cloth on you just in case you need it. Now, on this bad boy, I have a hood. When I don't have a hood on this camera, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like stock. Okay? Love to clean my lens as long as I have fluid on it. I might as well clean it, right? So when you're shooting out, wherever you're shooting, okay, it happens sometimes that you'll get that reflected light off of your light source, whether it's the sun or a lamp, overhead lighting, or even like lighting inside of something and you're shooting into like a casement, whether it's a fish tank or at the museum or whatever. This hood can help shadow your actual lens so that you don't have to fight glare. Okay, so equipment-wise, that's what's in the bag! My really bad 7 impersonations. Okay. When I take my camera out, the minute I walk out of the car, the camera is always ready, loaded, primed with a fresh battery and a fresh memory card. Okay, so I don't have to mess with that on site. Okay, always good thing. The other thing that I keep in the bag is snacks. As dumb as this is, and as fattening as America is as a whole, in the event that, okay, like with the event of Devil's Lake, I did 2 things that were really, really stupid. A, I didn't double check to make sure the lens was clean, and I didn't bring a glass of water. This bag is great because I have on the zipper here, which is a second zipper, by the way. Okay, there's 2 zippers on this thing. But this pouch right over here is for bottles of formula. In my case, it's where I put my bottle of water. So always have one, okay? In the event that you're out all day long, there is nothing more distracting and aggravating than finding whatever it is you want to film, whatever it is you want to shoot, and your stomach starts to rumble. It's so distracting. So, I wouldn't recommend necessarily like fruit roll-ups, although those are what I have as an example. Maybe something that's not sticky. I would definitely say something not salty. Maybe some chips would be okay as long as they're not real salty. Trail mix is always real good, but something that's not going to leave a residue on your hands, because then you're going to get that all over your camera. So that's what's in the bag, and I'll catch you later.